Cloning. A word feared by many, who when they hear this word instantly visualize images of duplicate human beings being created in a mad scientist-style experiment. What most people do not realize is this image is far from the actual truth behind somatic cell nuclear transport, more commonly known as therapeutic cloning. Therapeutic cloning is a technique that would be used to produce cloned embryos to create stem cells that can be used to repair damaged or defective tissue in the parent of the cloned cells. This complex procedure can become quite costly. Costs to perform this procedure in human beings could soar as high as $2 million. To help alleviate the high price, governments must support the study of therapeutic cloning because of the numerous benefits it will provide to our society, such as saving countless lives every single day. Most people do not fully understand the entire process of therapeutic cloning. Therapeutic cloning is a complicated procedure that involves many steps. First, a researcher extracts the nucleus from an egg, which holds the genetic information for an organism. The scientist then takes a somatic cell and extracts the nucleus from this cell. The nucleus that was extracted from the organism's somatic cell is then inserted into the egg, which has previously had its nucleus removed. The egg now contains the organism's genetic material, which is stimulated to divide and eventually forms a cluster of cells known as a blastocyst. The blastocyst has an inner and outer layer of cells, and its inner layer is rich in stem cells. The cells within the inner layer are isolated and then used to create embryonic stem cell lines. These stem cells would be used to provide the needed healthy tissue for the organism or patient. Therapeutic cloning has a lot to offer the general public today. One major benefit is if the cloning is successful, then perfectly matched replacement organs could become available to ill and dying human beings. This would save numerous lives and also increase the quality of life. For example, therapeutic cloning could be used to produce healthy nerve cells for people living with Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease. The therapeutic cloning procedure was successful in treating Parkinson's disease in mice on March 24, 2008. Scientists used the animal's skin cells to generate customized dopamine neurons, the missing neurons in Parkinson's disease. And the mice that received the newly grown neurons exhibited neurological improvement. This study was a huge breakthrough for researchers. If they were successfully able to treat Parkinson's disease in mice, they should be successful in treating humans. Just imagine the millions of people we could save if researchers were able to find a cure for these fatal brain disorders. The lives saved would be endless. This procedure may also be used to create healthy liver cells for those suffering with a damaged organ. Not only could this procedure be used on the liver, but eventually on any body part. Think of all those transplant patients lying in hospital beds, just waiting and hoping that eventually one day their doctor is lucky enough to locate a transplant organ that will match them. Therapeutic cloning would completely eliminate this terrifying waiting process. If doctors are able to simply take one of the patient's cells to grow them the needed organ, the fear of never finding a donor would now be abolished. Another danger of patients in need of organ transplants is that the transplanted organ will be rejected by their immune system as a foreign invader. Many patients' immune systems do not recognize another human being's organ, signaling their immune system to begin fighting against the organ, becoming fatal to the patient. When this occurs, the patient's immune system must be suppressed, leaving the individual vulnerable to any number of infections. Therapeutic cloning has the potential to change all of that. Since the cells being used to create the organ are from the patients themselves, the body will not recognize the organ as a foreign object. Therefore, the danger of rejection is now eliminated, thus saving numerous lives. Now, thanks to therapeutic cloning, when a patient undergoes transplant surgery, more than likely they will survive this intense procedure. There is absolutely no way the patient's body could reject the new organ because the individual's own DNA is being used. Therapeutic cloning is a truly life-changing procedure. Despite the many beneficial outcomes of therapeutic cloning, various individuals still oppose this type of procedure. There are many ethical concerns connected with therapeutic cloning. The reason most people oppose therapeutic cloning is because it involves the death of young human embryos, which they view as parallel to the death of human beings. But is a human embryo really a human being? A young embryo is approximately the same size as a simple grain of sand and is merely a bundle of round cells stuck together and has no human form. Can we truly call this ball of microscopic cells a member of the human race? Take, for example, a strand of hair. If one had just a single strand of hair, would one still treat that single strand the same as an entire head of hair? Most probably not. One would not wash it, dry it, comb it, or curl it. So, why must the circumstances be different when dealing with a human being? A human embryo is purely an embryo with no head, no arms, or legs. Things are what they are, not what they may become. An embryo is simply a ball of cells that have the potential to save lives throughout the nation if individuals support the therapeutic cloning process. Therapeutic cloning honors and respects human life, and any individual who truly respects other human beings must stop advocating respect for human embryos. The choice we have to face is clear: cloning and life, or prohibition and death. Currently, federal funding for both therapeutic and reproductive cloning is banned by the Dickey Amendment, which specifies that funds cannot be used for the creation of a human embryo or embryos for research purposes. Along with the Dickey Amendment, there are also several bills in Congress that concentrate on the human cloning issue. For example, one bill proposed by Human Resource Representatives Jim Greenwood and Peter Douche would ban reproductive cloning, but allow therapeutic cloning as long as researchers register with the federal government and prove that the cloned embryos would not be implanted for pregnancy. This is the ideal bill for therapeutic cloning. It advocates for therapeutic cloning advocates because it allows researchers the ability to further their studies in the therapeutic cloning procedure, but prevents the cloning form from getting out of hand. The reason for preventing scientists from studying reproductive cloning are rather clear. Human beings should not be allowed to modify the way humans have been reproducing for millions of years. This modification is completely absurd, for humans should not be given the power to choose how they want their offspring to appear, for this could result in a population of same individuals. Therapeutic cloning, on the other hand, does not provoke the same safety and ethical concerns. Although therapeutic cloning does involve the creation of an embryo, the ultimate purpose of this procedure is to help the ill and dying. Many scientists who oppose reproductive cloning, such as Rudolf Janisch, strongly support therapeutic cloning procedure. Many critics believe that the temptation to implant cloned embryos will be too great, resulting in cloned whole human beings. But in the Greenwood-Douche legislation provided severe criminal penalties for researchers who implant embryonic clones, this concern would be eliminated. We must not close off a promising opportunity of scientific investigations just because of fears of reproductive cloning. There are several steps the United States government should consider taking to help support the therapeutic cloning process, but still ensure the population is protected from the harmful effects of reproductive cloning. The first step involves Congress passing the proposed Greenwood-Douche bill to ban reproductive cloning for 10 years, but allow the study of therapeutic cloning. This bill would be a perfect start for the government to begin supporting therapeutic cloning. The Greenwood bill is extremely detailed and gives researchers the ideal amount of freedom needed to help the ill and the dying, but prevents cloning from getting out of hand. Following the passing of the Greenwood bill, the President must revise the executive ban on federal funding for cloning to allow funding for therapeutic cloning, while continuing to ban reproductive cloning. As stated earlier, the process of therapeutic cloning is most definitely not cheap, and in order for researchers to be entirely successful, they must have all the materials needed, which come with a very high cost. It will be much easier for researchers to find the cures they have been hoping for if they have government support. The final step that must occur is Congress must repeal the Dickey Amendment and allow the Department of Health and Human Services and the National Institute of Health to fund therapeutic cloning research. Clearly, the government is unable to cover all costs involved in the therapeutic cloning procedure. Therefore, researchers still need money to complete their work. These two organizations are the only other options scientists have besides privately funded research. It is vital to not only researchers, but also the many suffering individuals throughout our nation, whether they are waiting for a donor or slowly dying due to a severe brain disorder, that the therapeutic cloning procedure is their only hope. But researchers cannot do it alone and need the support of our government. As stated in the Constitution, the United States government works for and with the people. If this statement is entirely true, would not the government do all they can to help fund a scientific procedure that would help the population and better the quality of life? In conclusion, I hope each of you has learned exactly what therapeutic cloning involves, and have learned the many benefits of this wonderful medical procedure. Therapeutic cloning is an incredible advancement in medical research, and scientists should be allowed to continue on with their work in this type of cloning. Do we not want to erase the fears of numerous terminally ill people around the world today and potentially save their lives? Why not go one step closer to answering medical mysteries and finding cures for all the suffering human beings in our nation? Therapeutic cloning is the answer for so many people out there, and it must be legalized. The only possible way we can save the lives of numerous ill people is to allow the brilliant researchers and scientists to continue with their work and find an answer to the many problems within our world today. Thank you.